I'm Karen and I'm a yarn addict. This is my channel on here. I love to look at yarn, buy yarns, what I love to do, and show y'all the yarn that I buy. But I also love to talk about yarn. And I also love to crochet. And then I love to show y'all what all I have crocheted. But today, we're going to talk about cashmere. Been waiting to do this. Actually, I have run down so many rabbit holes that I decided I was going to drive myself crazy over cashmere yarn if I didn't quit reading about it. Oh, goodness. I don't know. I guess most of you know that I'm getting this other book open. I don't mean to be looking down. I'm sure most of you know that cashmere comes from goats. The region in which most cashmere comes is from the Gobi Desert, which is northern China to Mongolia. Also included in the region where I knew I'd get to doing this, that I'd be looking for my crazy things. Yes, down here at the very bottom, I made myself a note. In this region is China, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Afghanistan, and Pakistan and India is where the majority, but I believe up around Mongolia and the Gobi Desert is where they say some of the most, the best cashmere is because of the goats. An interesting little thing that I read today as I was trying to get some of these facts straight was that they had brought in the 1980s, they brought a bunch of goats over to the United States, and they were going to try to start raising. I'm sure they've done this other times, but during this particular study, they were going to try to raise these goats, and they found out here in the U.S. that they just did not produce the best type of cashmere, you know, the cashmere like they were getting over there in Mongolia. But I think after reading a lot about this, I came to find out that they said through one of the studies, they found out that the better you feed them and the better pasture land and stuff like this that they have, the goats don't produce that best cashmere. They just put them out there on a hillside and a bunch of rocks to climb on. I think that's the way they thrive better from everything that I was reading about. That's funny because you would think to bring the goats, you know, to a better place and where they had, you know, better food and grassland and all like that, that you would have a better product. But that wasn't the case with these cashmere goats. How cashmere is taken from the goats, the best way they have found out is for them to be combed, because the goat has, their coats are in two different layers. It's the outer layer, which they call the guard hair, which is a lot coarse hair and, you know, thicker, and it's not that soft downy hair. And then the underneath of the belly and up through the neck, what I understand, is the inner soft down coat, which produces the very best cashmere. And I also read, which I was really shocked about this, that any goat can produce cashmere, but to be cashmere, it has to be a certain length and it has to be a certain diameter, so it has to be a really fine. The cashmere hairs are thinner than human hairs. And so they have to be that certain length and certain diameter, which makes them that soft, plush fiber that cashmere is. So all of this I just found so interesting. Like I said, I crawled down so many rabbit holes till it was pitiful. Now, the combing of it is better because in the spring, the goats naturally molt and this hair comes off anyway to grow their upcoming winter coat. So it's better for them to comb the goats out, and that way they can get more of that soft down that they're wanting. When they try to shear the goats, then the separating of that coarser, thick hair, you have to do more of that. Even when they comb the goats, there's a process they have to go through of separating that coarse hair out to get that finer, you know, nice cashmere. Because the coarse hair, I read in Australia, they do a lot of shearing the goats, but that coarser hair is used like for brushes and different things of that nature. They use all of it, but it just isn't into the fibers of making fine cashmere clothing or fine cashmere yarns like we would love to have. Hold on. Sorry, my air was acting up over here. I turned it off. I had it. So anyway, cashmere is a commodity yarn because it is traded by weight. Like it said in like our precious metals like gold and silver and all is traded by weight. Well, that's how cashmere is sold. But it takes one goat for 1 year's growth of, they call the cashmere wool also, but for 1 year's growth can make a scarf. I think it said it takes like 3 to 4 goats to be able to make a sweater. So that's, and that of course is one of the reasons why cashmere is so expensive, is because there's just not that much of it. Like I said, they do in Australia, what I understood, have in certain parts a lot of cashmere goats, and a lot of those are sheared. But now there did come out a whole big thing in a lot of the animal rights groups saying that the goats were sheared and sent, and talking about the ones in Mongolia and this region, the Kashmir region they call it. They did say that, you know, they were treated bad because they were sheared and then they didn't have their coats on and they were sent into the mountains to freeze and all this kind of stuff. And everything I found, they have found all of those claims are not true. Now, there may be instances where maybe some of the people didn't understand, but I think most of your old goat herders that are in this region, you know, take care of their goats because they know that that's where their money comes from. But one thing that is happening over there in the Gobi Desert, the grassland surrounding it is becoming less and less, and more desert land is becoming, because they say the way of goat's foot is that it tears up the soil, and that these goats, and if y'all have ever seen the picture of the longer haired type goats, those are the ones that, whatever breed this is with the big horns, there's so many different breeds they told about that are the breeds over there. They're basically, most of them are white and brown. Let me make sure. They're white and brown and gray, but their coats actually can be, they do have some that are black, but the goats are destroying the land, because they say when they eat, they pull up the whole root of the plant, like the grasslands, they just pull it up by roots and they don't graze over the top of it. And I thought that was very interesting. because we've had goats before, and I never thought, but you know, goats, they're a herd animal, and they are more, if you have one goat out, it's not happy. Either it'll try to run away, we've had that to happen, or it likes to be in the, you know, in a group of other animals. We have one goat now that's in with our sheep, and that's because we had 4, and the 2 of them got gone, 1 died, and this one little goat survived. But they're trying to get the people of this area to also see that they can raise different things like sheep, and not sheep, what I'm talking, they can raise the animals like in the camel family, camels and alpacas and llamas and that type of things. And their fiber also, you know, that they're traded and considered, you know, very luxurious fibers also. And they feel like if they can switch over some of these farmers to these type animals, then it'll help the environmental problems that are happening over there that the goats are causing. And the goats, one of the main reason, I think, from everything I could read, one of the big problems is goats reproduce so fast. That was one of my rabbit holes I was supposed to be finding out today, was how many months it takes for a goat, you know, to have a baby. It's a short period of time. Sheep, our sheep, the breeds we have are like every 5.5 months, and goats are faster than that. So they interviewed this one lady who was like in her 80s, and she was talking about she used to keep just a small herd of goats and started selling the cashmere, and now they produce so fast. From what she only had was a 10-20 goat herd, she said they've just kept them all, I guess, and had not been where before they would sell the billy goats. They've kept them, and she said they're producing so many every year till their herd just keeps building and building. So I thought, well, you know, that's a good way to build your herd, is by having, but that can be a problem also, is from what they were talking about. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go back and splice some video together because I've messed up this. I hope it works out. So I guess if you see me saying this, it worked out. Now I had to go back and look and make sure that I was right about some things, because I am not an expert on anything, y'all, and I am not an expert on cashmere by no means. But I did do a lot of reading, like I said, but I did go down a lot of rabbit holes that were just got me off in all kind of different things. So, as usual, I'm scattered and unorganized like I am most of the time. When I was talking about that it takes 2 to 3 cashmere goats to make a sweater, it says from 4 to 6 actually. And then it takes like 10 to 20, no, excuse me, that was 10 to 20 to make a sweater and scarf. 30 to 40 goats to make a cashmere overcoat. The cashmere in years, hundreds of years ago, of course, back then was still considered a luxury fiber, and mainly only your royal and nobility, you know, had it. There are even stories of all different things being made from the, you know, but it was in the royal palaces, and not just clothing, some curtains and things like that. I don't know how they got enough poor goats to do it, but they might have. The increase, what they have projected in the market to be by 2025, should hit around $4.2 billion. I thought, wow. And if you've ever seen the word pashmina, my mouth wouldn't work, Pashmina, pashmina, that's the Pasha is the Indian word, I believe, for the cashmere, and the popularity of this word really started growing, and people thought that that was your most luxurious cashmere, because all of these scarves that were being made, this was back just, I don't know if I had an actual date on that, but the thing was that they were making out of cashmere and silk these luxurious scarves and things, and they were just branding them with that word. So if you ever do see that in some fine clothing, it's cashmere, but for the most part, one of the first, when it first came out, they were 50% cashmere and 50% silk, which both of them are luxurious fibers. But it's not the 100% pashmina, is just cashmere. So I was trying to think, there's so many other things I could go on forever, but I don't want to make a video 2 hours too long. But the cashmere does come from goats, and any goat, but I got to looking, and a lot of your goats don't have like the longer hair that the goats over there in that region are. There's different regions around the U.S. and different countries that, you know, the longer haired goats are, but it's that soft underneath coat that the down that they, if it's not combed out, they shed it, and they're gonna, like I've seen our sheep that have, you know, more wool on them. Most of our sheep are just the short-haired sheep that don't produce wool. But the ones that grow that are kind of a mixed breed, they'll have some wool on them. And this time of year, you can go out to our pastures, and along the fence line, you'll see where they're shedding, they're scratching on, you know, the fences, and they'll scratch on trees, they'll scratch. So you'll see, if they don't comb out this underbelly coat, they'll shed it naturally, and it'll come off just all of where they scratch and rub, because that's what they do. And that grows in the next year's, you know, coat. And like I said, I didn't read a lot about the ones in Australia, but I know what I did read was when they sheared the whole animal, the guard hair, one of the major things they said it was used for was like different brushes and things. It's a very brittle, what I understand, coarse type of fiber. So they are more goats coming to the U.S. and to the UK and France, and people are trying to raise you know, goats primarily for their fiber, you know, to make cashmere products. But I don't know that they're having as much luck with it as the farmers are over there in the region where it originated, because for whatever reason the goats seem to do a lot better over there. I just was looking, and there's all kind of different sites about the farmers that, you know, do sell some cashmere. Most of these are just your little independent farmers, from what I could see, that do a little shearing and evidently just have small quantities of fiber. Now, out west there may be, because I saw some in Tennessee and Kentucky. It's very interesting. If you just go Google cashmere, you can bring up hundreds of sites. And if y'all want to get more in depth and want me to tell y'all more about it, I'll be happy to, but I think I've hit the highlights. I tried to in this, of explaining, you know, what cashmere is, where it came from, how it's harvested, and, you know, luxurious garments are made from cashmere. Cashmere also is one of the fibers that wicks away water from the body, so it can be worn year-round, but cashmere is a lot warmer than wool is for whatever reason. So I don't know, it would have to be like a thin sweater or t-shirt. They make tees and things like that, and they make a lot of thinner ones that they said it's fine to wear, you know, year long. But I would think if I had a nice cashmere sweater, I'd bring it out every... Oh, one of the other things is cashmere is said to get softer with time, and if you take care of cashmere, it has the properties to last a lot longer than, you know, a lot of other fibers. If you take care of it, you can keep it forever, they said. So that's all of my information on cashmere. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. Like I said, I've got plenty more, but I didn't think y'all wanted me to just recite all of this. Go look it up if you want to find out anything else about it, because it's really interesting. Any yarn is interesting to me. That's just the way I am. But y'all might not want to do so much reading about yarns. Like, I mean, it just really interests me to find out how they shear sheep and, you know, harvested the wool and the different kinds of wool you have and all like that, plus your cottons and all your other fibers you get from plant-based materials, and then how they make acrylic and everything else. All of it's really interesting to me. So I'll let y'all know that I do have a Facebook group, and if you want to come join, if you have Facebook and want to come join my group, I would love for you to. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd also love for you to do that. I hope you like this video and give me a thumbs up, and then please go down below and leave me a comment. I love reading y'all's comments, I truly do. And if you haven't watched my first video about my July celebration I'm doing this month, go back and watch that first video that I put up Tuesday, I believe. It says July celebration, and then you'll have all the information of what I'm planning on doing this month. But most of all, y'all know, oh, my Facebook group, Twitter, and Instagram is linked down below. Everything's always linked down below in my description box. So y'all know what you gotta do. Each and every one of you out there, keep coming back, because I'm gonna be here, and y'all know it. I love you all.